go get your MBA, and then you go to Bain. Salary, if you're okay with talking about that.
It doubled pre-business school, so $165K. There was a sign-on bonus. It was like 25 or 30K. I used that bonus to pay off my car payment.
I figured you were gonna say you paid off some debt.
Yeah, I did have debt. I had a ton of debt, actually. I had about 200 grand of debt that I ended up paying off. Credit card debt, car payments, and student loans.
How long have you been an entrepreneur for?
I've been full-time since the end of November. TailoredU is an upskilling platform aimed at making people job ready, and we're starting with sports analytics. We have, to date, over 500 users.
Knowing that you wanted to be an entrepreneur seems like that's a running theme. What gave you that interest?
I don't really love working for other people.
Okay.
Just to be frank, when you work, especially at a big company, you're hired to do one specific job. And I have interests that are very kind of vast. I taught myself finance, taught myself how to code. And so being able to use my creativity and turn that into something valuable is pretty fun for me.
What is that you wish you would have known before starting like the full-time entrepreneurship journey?
I just wish that I knew that
All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Custom Journeys podcast. Today, we're going to be interviewing Hiram Riddle. He is a mechanical engineer by trade. He went to Rutgers University, got his MBA from MIT, worked as a consultant, worked at Lockheed Martin. Now he is a co-founder and CEO of TailoredU. This is a platform that teaches you all the skills that you need to prepare you for that job that you're looking for. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like, share, comment, all that good stuff. If you don't know me, my name is Andrew Baines. I'm the host of the Custom Journeys podcast. We started this show to help introduce you all to successful Black and Latino STEM professionals, and then also just expose you to what different career opportunities are out there. So with all that business out the way, my guy, Hiram, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. How are you, Andrew?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited to see what you've been up to. You know, we've been staying in contact and everything, but I'm looking forward to an update on TailoredU and what you've been building.
Yeah, likewise. It's good to be in Houston and catch up.
Yeah, for sure. So, man, it's a lot going on. I mean, you got the branded shirt now. This is new since the last time I've seen you.
Yeah.
What's up with TailoredU? Tell me about the company and what's some of the progress you guys have had over the recent months.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the context. Just to provide a little bit more, TailoredU is an upskilling platform aimed at making people job ready. And we're starting with sports analytics. And yeah, since the last time you saw me, a lot's changed. So very excited to share some of the progress. But we have, to date, over 500 users, which is exciting. We launched a beta back in March, and we have paying customers finally.
Okay. Hey, man, money is good. You know, you married and everything, so I'm sure your wife is happy that you got some money coming in the business.
She's excited about the progress as much as me, yes.
Good stuff. So, like, what's that process been like, acquiring customers and, you know, bootstrapping the business and everything?
Yeah.
Like, how's that been?
I think two words. It's challenging and it's rewarding. So a lot of it is, in the early days, is just onboarding users one by one, which is pretty hard to do, and getting feedback, collecting feedback, and iterating on the product. So you're doing a lot of things in parallel. But once you notice people are actually getting value from your product, it's one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. Until my son is born, I'm sure.
Yeah, and congratulations about the son on the way as well. Looking forward to that. Man, so I think, you know, one of the things, I know we talked off camera about how you're building this.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of that you can share, but vibe coding is a really big popular thing, and some of the people that are watching may be curious about, you know, entrepreneurship, and they're like, dang, I don't know how to code, or even if they do know how to code, like, they don't have the time it takes to build a software product from scratch. So I'm curious if you can kind of share like how you guys are building out this early stage product, and maybe what are some things that other people can kind of do to do the same.
Yeah, so we're definitely vibe coding, and we're also coding ourselves. So I don't want to overpromise what vibe coding can deliver, but I would say if you know how to code, you're probably going to get a lot more out of it than someone who doesn't know how to code. But if you don't know how to code, I would suggest, one, start learning how to code, but you can also start vibe coding. But I do think it's going to be a little bit more challenging depending on how complex what you're trying to build is, if you don't know how. So I actually think now is a great time for anyone to start learning how to code, and that's one of the missions of TailoredU is to teach people skills that allow them to actually do something, right? Do something of value.
Yeah, I like that. And I guess let me take one step back because I live in this world of like vibe coding. Vibe marketing is a thing now as well. Your wife may appreciate that.
Yeah.
I live in this world of like AI automation, AI agents, N8N, all these things. But there may be somebody that are like, they're just starting from square one.
Yep.
And they're like, hey, I've heard of coding. I know there's like different programming languages like JavaScript, React, Python, etc. But I guess take a step back and kind of, I guess, number one, can you inform people what vibe coding is? And then number two, maybe give them some particular like software tools they can use to build out or, like MVPs or minimal viable products and stuff.
Yeah. I can give my definition of vibe coding. So I think it's basically chatting with an AI agent, just like you chat with an AI on ChatGPT or Claude or whatever tool you use, except this time what you prompt it to do will actually write the code for you in an integrated development environment. And so there's a bunch of tools out there. A lot of them are really good to get some basic stuff up and honestly some more complex stuff up if you know how to prompt well. But some of the tools that we're using at TailoredU are Cursor and Replit. So highly recommend those. I'm more of a fan of Cursor, so we decided that we're going to move in that direction moving forward. And my co-founder is also using Cursor. But there's some other tools out there like Bolt. I'm blanking on a couple. There's like Windsurf as well.
Lovable.
Lovable. That's the one that I was blanking on. And then also Base 44. You might have heard of this.
I think I've heard of it.
He's an Israeli guy who vibe coded Base 44, which is a vibe coding agent in like 6 months and was able to exit for $80 million. So one of the other platforms like WordPress, but not WordPress, ended up acquiring him and his team.
Like WordPress or Webflow or
Weebly or
Squarespace.
Wix. Or Squarespace, one of those companies. Yeah. It's definitely one of the ones that we mentioned. I don't know which one.
Yeah.
Acquired his company for $80 million, and he did it in like 6 months.
Yeah, that's both inspiring and frustrating at the same time. Because it's like, I think it's super inspiring. It's just frustrating because you're like, dang, man, I wish 6 months ago I could have built something and sold it for $80 million. That doesn't sound like a bad idea. But I think it definitely shows the impact of like how quickly you can build now by leveraging these tools.
Exactly.
And I think I even read something recently where like Mark Cuban was like, hey, we may have like the world's first trillionaire because of like vibe coding and it may be a one-person team and all this stuff. So
yeah, there's definitely people are talking about like the first one-person billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
We have yet to see that, but we are starting to see smaller and smaller teams, which is what I think the future is headed towards, is just smaller teams. But I'm also trying to avoid this hype cycle that we're in that we're going to see trillionaire. I mean, Elon Musk may become a trillionaire anyway, but trying to avoid the hype cycle of like AI is going to replace all of our jobs and is just going to be the way of the future. I don't know, that could be the case, but I do think that the future of work is going to look a lot different than it has in the past 5 to 10 years.
Let's take a step into that because I think I agree with you. I don't know if it's going to be as extreme as, number one, hopefully it won't be as extreme as like iRobot and Terminator and all that stuff.
Right.
But number two, I don't think it'll be to the point where like, okay, hey, nobody has the job anymore at all. Especially like a lot of these roles that depend on relationships and like human interaction, like sales and things like that. But on the technical side, the engineering side in particular, I do think we're already starting to see like a big pullback or at least a pause that's being pressed by a lot of companies because they're like, hey, let's see what we can do with our current headcount.
Correct.
By leveraging AI to build out, some of these things that maybe we would have hired an intern or an entry-level professional for. But maybe somebody that's like early in their career and they're thinking about like computer science or software engineering, like what would you recommend for them so that maybe they're not going down a route that may be obsolete one day? Or maybe if they are competing with not only other humans, but AI as well, like what are some things that you think they should be doing there?
Yeah, I think today, I still think it's a great time to learn how to code, but I think I would focus a lot more on data science and AI engineering.
Okay.
And so can you build some of these AI tools? Can you work with large language models to create even more efficient code. And I think that's what's going to be super important. And I think there's a lot of demand for people who can build advanced large language models or just models in general, as well as create applications, so work at the application layer that is leveraging the LLM layer. So that's what I would recommend. If I was 21, I'm not anymore, but if I was 21, that's what I would tell myself to focus on.
Yeah, and I think that's something that like everybody needs to do, regardless of if they're pursuing engineering or not. I think Microsoft put out like a report where they basically broke down where we're at, and they had a prediction about 3 different stages. Right now, we're in the early stage where like you have like one AI agent or whatever, like maybe for your entire corporation. But down the line, they think like everybody's going to have an AI assistant, essentially, that's going to do a core function. And then the final phase will be every individual person is managing like a team of AI agents where maybe one is handling sales and everything there, another on marketing, so on and so forth. But the humans are all collaborating, but each human has a team of AI agents that they're kind of managing for different tasks. So I think it's great advice, basically. So.
Yeah, and so I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
And I could see that happening, but I could also see it not happening exactly like that. I think we're so early. But one thing I do want to mention, though, like that vision that you just displayed, one of the beauties of it is that, you've mentioned these large companies have paused hiring and like maybe aren't hiring interns or lower level employees because they're focused on efficiency with AI, right? And so one of the implications for that is that now smaller companies need less to be able to compete with some of these bigger players.
True.
And so what I really do think is going to happen is that we're going to see a lot more smaller businesses because now that playing field has been leveled a lot more. And so they're still going to hire people, but they're going to hire smaller teams. And so if I have one team that just focuses on X software and that's only 5 people, but now we can have a lot more teams that are focused on different problems. I think that's what's going to happen, but it's going to take time to get there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
TailoredU, you started with sports science, SQL.
Yep.
What was kind of the thought process there? Like, why SQL? Why sports science? Why not, computer science or something else?
Yeah, so there's a lot that went into that decision-making process. So my co-founder was the director of business intelligence at the Houston Rockets when we were thinking about which market should we enter first. And so we were trying to think about what makes what we call a beachhead market, like the first market you enter, attractive. And what we really wanted to find was something that's really niche, that's, like the big players aren't looking into, right? And something that we could just learn a ton from. Yeah. And so he found, as a hiring manager, that there were a lot of people who either knew some of these skills but didn't know the sports business side at all, and there's no way for them to know it unless they have a sports role, or they don't really know these skills, and they have to learn it on the job. And so we decided to enter into sports first. And SQL was one of those tools where we thought, hey, a lot of people need to know this, right? Especially in sports, like in analytics in general. So a lot of people need to know this. We can build something around this. It's easier to build a product with a SQL contained environment as opposed to some of these other languages. And we both know the language ourselves, so we can teach. And then he understands the sports context. He knows what it was actually like to work for a professional sports team. A lot of people don't, but a lot of people want to. And so we just wanted to test this idea. If we tweak the problems to be around actual assignments that he would give an intern or give an entry-level employee, one, will people learn better and will they be engaged? And we found that to be true for both. And then we didn't just leave it at the problem set, but also like the data sets that they were querying on. A lot of these existing courses, the data sets are very simple, or they have you learn by writing queries on the IMDb database, which a lot of people don't really have many like real world things they can do with that, right? You can learn SQL, but it's not that exciting or interesting, and there's not a lot of like business context around it. So he designed these data sets to look like the ones that he saw at his time working for an NBA team. And so that was the value. And so now if someone takes our course and they go interview for one of these professional teams, they can have more meaningful conversations in those interviews. And also, ideally, if they get hired, they can be more job ready and be able to actually add value on day one. And that's our goal.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I forget the name of it, but there's this, in the world of education, there's this pedagogy basically that looks at, okay, hey, using like relevant real world examples to teach different concepts, whether it's math or whatever. And I'm a big believer in it. Like, just even looking at like high school education, it's like, hey, why don't we, like, you're teaching kids math, why not teach them about like real estate or like taxes or whatever? Like, give them something practical that's going to be beneficial at the same time. And I think a lot of times, in my opinion, what I've heard before is that a lot of employers feel like, hey, you graduated with all these degrees, but that doesn't really tell us like the type of quality of work, or we don't really feel like you're actually prepared to do the task at hand, and you're using actual real world data and applying it to real world situations. I think that in itself is very impactful. And I love that you guys picked a niche where, hey, it's not something that everybody and their mom is doing. Like, there's a lot of coding boot camps out there that, have the same curriculum regardless of where you go to. No knock on them, but it's a lot of like React, JavaScript, full stack. But it's not so much SQL that I've heard is like the starting point for companies. So I think that's very unique.
Yeah, I think it is unique from what we've been able to see, and I think the most unique part is sports as well. I think a lot of people overlook sports jobs, but what's really interesting about this market is that a lot of people who want to work in sports are very, very passionate, and they're willing to go a lot further to prepare themselves. And so
and I think there could be a lot of interesting like side projects or relatable applications that people could develop. Like, if you look at like, sports is so different now than it was even 5 years ago. But if you look at how much sports betting is taking place, if you look at NIL, if you look at all these different use cases where, like, if you're able to aggregate and analyze this data and you can predict or make an assessment of something that could impact NIL or the deal that somebody gets, or the sports betting side of things, like that could be like a gold mine for a lot of people. Or just a side project for some people even. Yeah,
and so sports betting is definitely on our roadmap. Okay. So it's something that we've talked about quite extensively. And how do we, like the sports betting companies, they don't have an incentive for people to make money, sports betting, right? Yeah. So they're not going to really want to educate their users.
They might just pay you some money to go away, I feel like, if anything else.
Right. But if we can actually help people make some informed decisions based on statistics and actually understand the type of bets that they're making, we think that can be a really attractive move for us.
For sure. Yeah, no, I love that use case. And then, I don't know, I feel like there may be something there as well, like on the NIL side. I'm thinking if you're able to track, like, hey, who's getting NIL deals, how much they're for, and like what their statistics look like, but then also like what their presence like online looks like, and there's something you could do there as well. Like, I think you could even, other businesses, small, medium, large, whatever, they could even use that to kind of help inform their decisions. Like, hey, maybe we should put some money behind this local kid that's like at the college or whatever, doing, like running up the score or whatever.
Yeah, so. No, absolutely. I think we see there's a whole bunch of different pathways for us, but our big vision is actually not limited to sports. Okay. So we do want to go into these industries that are very coveted for one reason or another. Sports, it's not really the return. Like, you're not making a ton of money unless you're a player in sports. But a lot of people get a lot of utility just from being on a sports team, right? It's a lot of people's dreams to just work in that world. But there's these other industries like finance or consulting or healthcare where people can get a really nice return, but it's really, really hard to break into some of these industries. And so we really want to nail this sector today, and then start expanding outwards to some of these other ones.
Okay, and the idea is, even if you go from SQL to JavaScript to some other language or tool that you're teaching people, you'll always have a relatable real world application tied to it. Okay.
Yeah. So if you want to become an investment banker, For example, like you don't know what it's like to do that job. You come to our platform, and what you're effectively getting is simulated job training.
Okay.
So you're preparing yourself for the role before you actually get it.
Interesting. How are you, like, let's say you once you expand beyond sports, like what's the plan for like gathering this real world data, real world application?
Yeah. So we haven't given too much thought to it, but there's a really good question. So we're thinking about creating tools for creators. And so that's actually what we're working on right now is creating our own AI agents that make it so anyone with domain expertise can become an instructor and
Okay.
create these courses or projects that reflect what they actually see on the job.
Yeah. No, I love that. There's I know of at least one other company that's doing something like that, but it's more so meant for like coaching
Yep.
type of deal. Like it can be as simple as like, hey, I want to go and get into an Ivy League school, and they may teach a course all about Ivy League school. That's something you could do as well. We'll get to that in a minute. Well, MIT, is that Ivy League?
It's
Or they're
not
separate?
Ivy League, no.
Like same tier, but not same type of.
Like
all right.
Stanford's not Ivy League either.
Yeah. All right. So
It's like those
does it matter?
northeastern.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So I mean, just like those type of things where, I think that's a good idea. You know, and the creators, they're probably looking at like, hey, I get to, make a little bit of money on the side for just teaching people what I already know. So yeah, I think that's a good way to build that out. I guess logistically, price, timeline to complete the course and all that. Like, if I sign up, like, what am I getting? What am I expecting?
Yeah. So there's two different pricing offerings right now. There's the monthly and the annual. The monthly is $30 a month. The annual is effectively $20 a month, but you pay up front for a year. And right now we have 7 courses, and they're each about 8 to 10 hours to complete. And then we have 3 projects as well. We're also releasing a couple of courses every few weeks. So that's something that our early users have told us is that they want more content. So that is our biggest focus right now is adding more, which is also why we're creating our own AI tools internally so we can speed up that process. So if someone signs up with us today, in a few months, there's going to be a lot more courses and features than what there is today or whenever this airs. So,
Okay, gotcha. I think it's a good business plan, man. I think it's much needed. I had a discussion 2 days ago with a faculty member that works at Rice University down the street. I was telling him like, man, I think we're getting to a point where if you're working at a university or if your child is getting ready to go to college, you have to have a really serious conversation with them about, hey, the value of college and like doing that. Because at least when I was in school back in my day, you would get in there and they would give you a 4-year degree plan, broke down what classes you're going to take each and every semester for the entire 4 years to get out in 4 years. And now I'm thinking about it. And if you just think about it, today is mid-July 2025. And think about 3 years ago, nobody was talking about ChatGPT.
no.
Like, people maybe in the Valley knew of it potentially. I don't know. I don't live out there. But at least in Houston, Texas, nobody that I know of, and I'm an engineer and I feel like I'm connected, was really talking about ChatGPT 3-4 years ago. I remember the first time somebody showed it to me, and this guy works in innovation at Chevron. He showed it to me, and I was like, what in the world is this? This is like crazy. And that might have been maybe 6 to 8 months before it like really blew up online. But getting back to the point, I think the rate at which things are changing and the tools that are being developed, like if you're in the computer science space specifically, like I don't know if you can justify like going to a 4-year degree to get a CS without some kind of specialty, to your point, of either some type of like AI engineering, quantum computing, or something along those lines where you're going to be on the leading edge of it. If you're just planning to go and be like, okay, hey, I want to be a full stack developer, I feel like in 4 years, are those going to be obsolete? Like, I don't know. Maybe not entirely, don't get me wrong there, but I feel like it's going to be highly competitive because you're going to have a lot of jobs in that space that do potentially get cut out. And then you're going to be competing not only with other entry-level people, but then also experienced people that have years of experience and practice, and they may know AI tools. So I just think big picture-wise, and we could theorize all day, but I think big picture-wise, I think tools like what you're creating, are going to be somewhat of an alternative choice for certain people that are debating, okay, hey, the 4-year university to study XYZ or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But I think in a lot of cases, the degree will still be extremely valuable. But I think for people where, the budget is a thing and the time is a thing, then I think they may look for alternatives like what you guys are building.
Yeah. I think you nailed like what our big vision is, right? We do want to be an alternative and we want to be an equalizer. Education, the price of traditional 4-year college is just skyrocketed, and it's going to continue to grow, and it's probably going to be at some number that we can't even fathom in the next 10 to 20 years, right? So it's definitely something that we want to help solve for, and it's part of our mission. But I agree with you that college, there's other benefits to going to college, and I think it really depends on what people are studying, what their financial situation looks like, if it's going to be a good choice for them. I'm not someone that believes that everyone needs to go to college, but I do believe that some people should go to college.
Sure.
And so it really does depend on your situation. But yeah, I think, look, like computer science really wasn't even a major, 40 years ago, right? Until computers became more accessible. And so things like that change a lot. And I think that's just kind of part of the human experience, right? And so 20 years from now, the majors may look different, or they may be called something different. Like data science wasn't really a major. I graduated Rutgers in 2014, and data science wasn't even really an undergrad major. Not that I recognize. It was still like statistics, and if you took statistics and did a minor in coding, then that was kind of like you were qualified to be a data scientist. Now it's like a major at many institutions. So
yeah. No, that's a great point. And that's something that I guess we're trying to predict something that's going to be like a complete moving target. And I think even content creation and podcasting, all this stuff, like those are things that were not career fields not that long ago. So I think it's exciting more than anything. I guess the main thing is like being fluid and adjustable, being able to adapt to different things as opportunities present themselves, and not taking the curiosity mindset, basicly.
I think that's the most powerful thing that's been mentioned so far in our conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, how long have you been an entrepreneur for?
I've been full-time since towards the end of November.
Okay. Anything from November to now, what is that, 9 months-ish?
Yeah.
That you feel like
roughly.
you know now that you wish you would have known then before starting like the full-time entrepreneurship journey, or even entrepreneurship in general?
Yeah, I think I just wish that I knew that there is a difference going full-time than doing something on the side. And if I knew that, I think I would have gone sooner.
Really?
Yeah, because, I've been working jobs and working on side projects for most of my career. I don't think I've ever just worked a job and that's all I did. Like, I didn't just go home and watch TV, eat dinner. I was always going home, teaching myself how to code, teaching myself investing, building things, building tools for myself, exploring ideas, reading books. And you can't really read or learn about entrepreneurship. Even though I have an MBA, there is this part of entrepreneurship that I'm in right now, which is trying to get to product market fit, which you don't really apply your MBA to. Now, once you get product market fit and you're scaling the business, that's when more of the MBA stuff comes in. But right now, I'm in a completely different new territory, right? Which is just do all the things that don't scale, ship quickly, build, do customer service. You just have to do it, and you're just going to learn so much by doing that. And so that's the one thing that I wish I knew was, this is actually going to be a completely different type of learning experience by actually jumping in full time as opposed to doing something on the side where you really do have the safety net of a job.
Yeah. Wow. No, I think that's very, for me, that's very eye-opening, because I think a lot of people are doing something on the side. In 2025, it feels like a lot of people either have multiple jobs or they got a side hustle of some sort.
Right.
And I think you're right. I think there could be a lot that could happen once you take that full commitment, that full leap. I think the biggest thing it kind of boils down to is like responsibilities and finances.
Correct.
So your boy over here, I got 3 kids. Yeah, I'm like, hey, I'm the only income earner in the family. So this is all by choice, by the way, which it works fabulously for what we're doing. And like, I don't trust anybody with my kids, obviously more than my wife. But at the same time, it's like I'm building something on the side. And I'm like, yo, this could be big, but it's like if I had more time, then it could be something. I guess maybe I need to look at like funding sources and like get somebody to let me stop bootstrapping this and just invest or something like that.
So your situation is not super unique. I think a lot of people are in situations like yours. So that was not my situation. And I want to be clear, I'm not out here on a megaphone saying everyone just quit today, right? So I saved up about a year of expenses before I left to work on this full time. And then also I had been working on it and trying to understand the idea a little bit more for at least a couple years. I've been like doing a lot of research in this market before I even thought about before I left, right? So I do think that the personal financial situation is important, and that's just the reality of it. Is the first step is to get yourself like I had no debt. And my partner, my partner has no debt, so I paid off all my student loans first, which is why I worked, and then I built enough infrastructure that would allow me to kind of accelerate the product, getting the product out into users' hands. So that's something that I would say everyone should. It depends on their personal financial situation, but get your personal financial situation into a good spot. And then something that you can do, which is like you said, raise money. You can go and raise money before you go full time, but it's going to be more of a challenge. A lot of times it's a lot harder to raise money for something before the entrepreneur has fully jumped in. So it's a little chicken or the egg there.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense, and I appreciate like the educating the audience on like your situation, and then also like situations similar to mine, and like maybe what may fit best for them based on like finances and all that. I think you did I think you set yourself up. You built a great foundation to kind of have that flexibility and that freedom to like build from scratch without having to like tackle a bunch of credit card debt, a bunch of other debt, student loan debt, and trying to live off like the money you saved up, because you're living off that, and then the interest is racking up on the debt you got.
Correct.
So I think it's great the way you did it. Man, you talked about the MBA, or you made mention to the MBA. I made mention to the fact that you got an MBA at MIT. What's the process like of like getting into MIT and getting in the MBA for somebody who maybe wants to get MBA from MIT or some other prestigious university? Yeah,
so it's a pretty arduous process. I would say it takes about a year of planning. The first step is to take the GMAT and make sure you get a good enough score on that. So you probably want to be within their average range to be able to get into any of these top universities. So that's the first step. Like, get a good GMAT score. And then it depends on how good your GPA was, also in undergrad. So if you don't have the highest GPA, some of the things you can do are actually take some courses like on these extension schools.
What's an extension school?
Like Harvard has an extension school.
Oh, yes.
Okay. UCLA has one as well, where you can, and you want to make sure that you get A's on those to also show that you are more serious now about school. And then also you might, if you don't have the best GPA, may need to explain, hey, I had to work 3 jobs or take care of a sick relative, something that helps them understand your situation better. So the GMAT and the GPA are super important. But then comes the other stuff, which is traveling to these schools. So I recommend that whatever school you want to go to, and I didn't just apply to one school, applied to, I think, 10. And I visited almost all of them, except for like 2. But you want to go to these schools, visit their campuses, and network a little bit. That's going to show that you're actually serious and interested in them. And then the last step will be the essay and getting recommendations from your supervisors. So the essay should be something that you spend a lot of time and put a lot of thought into. And then you want to get recommendations, typically 2 letters of recommendations from supervisors or someone who supervised your work at some point. And so that's kind of what the application process looks like. And so I would say it should take about a year from when you kind of first take that GMAT to like traveling to writing your essays and giving your recommenders a month or 2 to have enough time to write their recommendation for you.
Obviously, MIT is competitive, right?
Yes.
Okay, so for you, what do you feel like helped you stand out versus all the competition in that process, the application process?
It's a good question. I tend not to even think about what helps me stand out. So that's actually new for me. But I think I did I had a pretty good score on the GMAT. I think that helped a lot. And then I think I wrote an interesting essay about wanting to be an entrepreneur. And specifically, I'm not working on this now, but hopefully one day I'm working on space robots, the robots that help terraform Mars. And that was what my essay was about, something very specific to me. And I think that helped me stand out a little bit. And then also my experience. You mentioned that, I think, in the intro where I worked at prior to business school, I worked at Lockheed Martin as an aeronautical engineer. And I got promoted there. And then I worked at BCG in data analytics. And so those helped my resume as well. So that's another part of the application that I mentioned. They all typically require you to also submit a resume. So make sure you have an updated resume because it is business school. It's not the same as other grad schools. And I think that my experience there also helped me a lot stand out. There were a lot of people at MIT in my business program that had engineering degrees, but not a ton of people from some of these engineers who actually like worked as like an aeronautical engineer or mechanical engineer or not a ton. Like a lot of people end up going into business right away as opposed to actually using their degree.
I got quite a few questions there, but first let me get the simple one out the way. You said terraform Mars?
Yeah.
What is that?
So there's this whole space race to getting humans to be able to live on Mars. And so in order to do that, you're going to need to probably send robots ahead of time to make it a little bit more habitable, whether that's putting up different types of, you can think like greenhouses, like for people to live in, or actually like start trying to put in an atmosphere and like maybe building some different types of structures. So that's kind of something that I was really interested in doing, and I still am. My co-founder is also a mechanical engineer by trade, and that was actually something I tried to pitch him. So my whole thought was when we were both at MIT, my co-founder, that's where I met him, was at MIT. I was pitching him a construction robotics company, and we have the backgrounds to do that. And the whole thought was we start in construction robotics on Earth and then eventually move to Mars and try to sell these robots to, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk.
Okay, interesting. Now, I think it's I won't get too far off track here, but I've seen humanoid robotics really taking off lately.
Yes.
There's actually a company in here in this building called Persona AI.
Okay.
And they do humanoid robotics for like heavy industries. So welding, all that kind of stuff. But I think you're onto something there. Something you may want to revisit after you exit TailoredU, make your first 100 million and all that. So you may want to double back.
Absolutely.
And feel free to cut me a check for the encouragement along the way.
Yeah, I'll get you some royalties there.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. I like it, Mr. Wonderful. All right. So look, you mentioned your experience as an engineer and as a consultant helped you. I guess let's take a quick step back. Tell us, like, how did you land that very first engineering job after you graduated from Rutgers?
Yeah.
This was at Lockheed Martin, correct?
Correct. It was. Okay. And it wasn't I actually transferred within Lockheed Martin. So I was a part of a group in undergrad called NSBE. NSBE stands for National Society of Black Engineers. And they have regional and annual conferences. And that's where I learned a lot about just professionalism and how to get a job. And so my chapter at Rutgers taught me a lot of things that I still use to today, which is like some of the like how to look like what color suit do you wear to an interview, right? You probably don't want to wear a purple suit to an interview. That's not professional.
You're not trying to pimp.
Yeah,
Trying to
exactly.
get a job.
Probably not. I don't know why I came up with purple. That's my first example, but no, that's probably a no-no, right? So some of the things that I learned was like black, charcoal gray, or blue are the typical colors, right? Especially as a black man, right? Like there's certain things that we want to make sure that we do. Making sure your belt matches, the color of your belt matches the color of your shoes, and that your tie ends at your belt line for men. Things like that I learned that from being in the National Society of Black Engineers, and then I learned about how to structure my resume, and then how to like prepare for an interview. I credit a lot of my success in getting some of these jobs from actually just being in that group in undergrad, even today. And so I don't think I actually got this role actually from National Society of Black Engineers, but I did get my internship, which was at Sikorsky Helicopter, which was owned by United Technologies, another conglomerate, which I think now has merged with Raytheon and is called Raytheon Technologies. Just little short history lesson there. But Lockheed Martin ended up acquiring Sikorsky from them, like while I was still at Lockheed. But
Sikorsky.
Yeah, Sikorsky Helicopter. So I worked on Blackhawks and the S-76D, very popular, famous helicopters, as like a quality engineer and an industrial engineer.
Okay.
And so that helped my resume. And then when Lockheed actually came to Rutgers, the recruiter, I talked to the recruiter, and I had wanted to work at Lockheed Martin since I was a sophomore in undergrad. And so I just was very upfront about that. And even after he told me like just apply online, which I knew was not going to go anywhere. So I actually got him to give me his card, and I emailed him, and then he got me an interview, and that was something that I did a lot to prepare for, and I was lucky enough to have a job secured like by my first semester senior year, and so that's how I got the first job. And so my first job was actually in weapon systems for the ballistic missile defense program for the Navy. And I did that for about 2 years. And then I transferred to Lockheed Martin Advanced Development Programs, which is in Palmdale, California. And that's how I ultimately ended up in Los Angeles. And I did that for about just under 2 years, where I worked on classified advanced aircraft as a structural dynamics engineer.
I love that you took that initiative, that extra step, because everybody feels like, when you apply online, it's not going to go anywhere. It's like, It feels equivalent to throwing your resume in the trash.
Correct.
Of course, I won't say of course, but hopefully somebody sees your resume when you apply online. But it just is far better to somewhat accelerate or improve your chances of success if you can get in contact with somebody. Did the recruiter have any hesitation about giving you the card? Or was he just like, you seem like a good kid here?
More the latter. Also, a side note, he did happen to be black, and so I definitely also use that used it to my advantage, which is kind of weird to say, because he was the only black. There were multiple recruiters there, and I definitely targeted him.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that's the human instinct of it. Yeah. I think we all, regardless of what your background is, or even if I'm talking to somebody of a different ethnicity, I'm trying to find some kind of connection with that person. So I was just talking to a lady earlier today. I believe she's Indian by heritage, but like we were talking about different music that we both like. And so we were talking about like different R&B artists and all that.
Oh, very cool.
And so she was putting me on to some new artists out there. She was asking me what I was listening to. I told her Tory Lanez. She gave me a weird look, like, you're not supposed to be looking at him. I'm like, the music is good though. But not to get sidetracked, but I think we're always trying to find that connection between each other, whether it's sports, music, weather, city, whatever. So I think that's something that people should take note of. Find somebody that you feel like, hey, you would resonate with them. It could be a football team, going back to the sports. It could be a certain logo on like a pin or like a shirt pin or something. So
yeah. And so definitely agree with that advice. Try to find that's something I try to do when I meet someone in general. It's just, what do we have in common?
Yeah.
And so I had heard, actually, just adding to the story, before there was a career fair, someone had told me about this person and said, You should talk to the black dude. He's cool.
Okay.
So someone told me that. So it wasn't like I just saw the black person and was like, oh, I'm going after you. I actually did hear.
Come here, black man.
Yeah, no, it wasn't like that. I think it helped in that situation for me. And I had applied to Lockheed Martin so many times. I talked to so many different recruiters, and it ended up nowhere. But luckily, this guy, his name was Medici, ended up helping me get my dream job at the time.
No, man, I think that's great, and I'm thankful that you shared that story because I think somebody is gonna find some inspiration from hearing that. But then also like there's similarities there, and I'm glad that worked out. Man, so you ended up at Boston Consulting Group after that. Like, how'd that end up happening? You're like, hey, I'm tired of building all these classified stuff I can't talk about. Let me go work for consultants.
That was part of it actually. When you're in that environment, you're not really you're not able to have your phone at your desk or anything like that. You don't have you work in a building with no windows, and you can't really talk about what you do. So I did start looking around, and I knew I wanted to go to business school, and the reason why I wanted to go to business school is because I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I wanted to meet my co-founder, which I have checked those boxes. And so I thought that, I started learning about these consulting companies, like these really prestigious firms that I didn't know about in undergrad. No one taught me about them. I think I heard about them on podcasts. So Boston Consulting Group, Bain and Company, and McKinsey and Company, I started looking into these places, and I was already I didn't go to Boston Consulting Group originally to become a consultant. It was actually to become a data analyst. So I was actually working on in a support role for the consulting staff, where I would kind of be given these data sets of many different types of data sets, from customer data to customer reviews. And I would create some of these advanced dashboards in Tableau, or just kind of create insights. I started using natural language processing, which back in 2018, 2019, that pre-ChatGPT was pretty new at the time, and helping people understand it's sentiment analysis, which is this a positive review or a negative review? And so those were the types of things I was doing. And I was using things like technologies like Python and SQL. And I taught myself how to do that early in my career, actually starting my last year in school. But I continued to teach myself these tools to where I was good enough to get a job in it. And so that's the type of work I put in over years to really get good at it.
You mentioned a few different consulting firms. You worked at two of the three,
correct?
I believe,
yeah.
BCG and Bain. For people that are watching, and I feel like it's a common career trajectory for people to be an engineer and then become a consultant after getting their MBA, or it could be without it, honestly. But what is a consultant? How do you describe a consultant?
It's a good question. I still don't really know the answer myself, but I'll try here. So consultants, especially management consultants or strategy consultants, are these kind of business juggernauts. These people who are really experienced in strategy, and they come in typically at the McKinsey, BCG, and Bain level to these really prestigious companies, the biggest companies in the world, and they're hired to help solve their hardest problems. So typically you might see a profitability issue. They might hire consultants to come in and identify, why is their company having a profitability issue and how do you turn it around? Or growth. How should we grow? We've been growing. We want to know, over the next 5 to 10 years, what does the market look like and how can we strategically position ourselves to grow? And then something I did a lot at Bain, which is the M&A side. Hey, we want to acquire this business. It could be a company trying to acquire a business. An example would be Google acquiring YouTube, or Microsoft acquiring LinkedIn. Or it can be a private equity firm, which is we can get to what a private equity firm is later, but a private equity firm, that's their job, is to buy businesses, and they want to know if that business is a good target or not. So we will come in, do a diligence on the market, on the customers and the competitors, and put together, synthesize all that information to help our clients determine if this is a good acquisition.
You work at BCG, you end up applying to get your MBA, and then after that, do you immediately go start working at Bain? Is that how that works?
Yeah. I started working at Bain. Wasn't my intention, but I did have some. I think I mentioned I had some college loans that I needed to pay off.
Like I need some money.
Yeah, it was either like that is one of the better paying options.
Okay.
For people who graduated from like a top business school.
Yeah.
The other one is like investment banking, or just getting into private equity as well, which is it's really hard to get into any of these industries. So, yeah, I was fortunate enough to get to get a job at Bain in the LA office, and that's where I focused on the private equity group there, which was a lot of the M&A diligences.
Gotcha. No, that's exciting. And the M&A stuff is something that personally interests me. I haven't dug into it deeper, but I follow other podcasts that talk about companies being acquired and the due diligence that they do to kind of, vet and verify that it's a good acquisition target. So that just personally interests me. You mentioned like these being difficult jobs to get into, whether it's private equity, investment banking, consulting at certain firms. I'll kind of ask you a question I asked earlier. What do you think it was that kind of helped you get your foot in the door? Was it the degree itself? Was it a network? Was it something else? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, so those like McKinsey, BCG, and Bain, they have their list of MBA programs that they recruit from exclusively, typically, and it's typically schools within the top 20 or so. Sometimes it's less, and it's not necessarily every school in the top 20, but yeah, like typically a top 20 ranked MBA school is who they recruit from exclusively. But the thing, why I'm like hesitant to say that like me going to MIT for my MBA really helped, it did help me get an interview, but you're competing with not just all your other peers at MIT, but your peers at Stanford and Harvard and Wharton and Northwestern and UChicago and Columbia and Yale. Like all these people are also interviewing for these jobs. So it is very, very competitive. So by no means is getting into one of these great schools a like ticket to getting a job. And so I did do a lot of prep work. So it's called casing or case prep, where you typically have to go through a case interview. And so they'll give you a sample problem, and then you have to walk them through how to solve the problem. And they keep giving you more and more information over time. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm familiar with case interviews, and I've even so my introduction to you was through recruiting.
Yep.
And so I know consultants that do the interview process, and that's case study is typically part of it. Yep. But then also just from like looking at different YouTube videos and trying to compare notes in terms of how different larger consulting firms kind of conduct their case studies. So yeah, no, I've gotten familiar with them through that. Salary, if you're okay with talking about that.
Yeah.
You graduated, it's been 11 years now. 2014 from Rutgers.
It's been 11 years.
And then I know the time going by fast. I just said that to make you feel old, but
no,
I'm older than you, but the time is flying by. But no, you graduated from Rutgers in 2014. Like, what did that engineering salary look like fresh out of college?
62,500. Okay. It was my first salary as a weapons systems engineer at Lockheed Martin.
Okay. Were you excited about that, by the way? I'm just curious. Like, what was your
2014? Yeah, it was. Okay. I was hoping for like 65.
Yeah,
but out of college. But yeah, I was excited. Yeah.
Okay. And then now let's jump up to the MBA, or no, let's stop. BCG. Like, what did that look like? Moving from Lockheed over to your first consulting gig.
Yeah.
And what year was that?
That was 2018.
Okay.
February 2018. I think right after President's Day, actually. And I think that salary was like $85K.
Okay. And that was like an entry-level consulting?
It was an entry-level like data analytics.
Kind of hybrid.
I think analyst was my title.
Okay.
So not on the consulting track, but on like the data analytics track. And I think there was a bonus that came with that as well. I don't remember though.
Good stuff.
But it wasn't like a big bonus.
Okay. And then you leave that, and then you go get your MBA, and then you go to Bain. Now you making some big money, like some crazy big money?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. But yeah, 165.
Okay.
So that's kind of like the trajectory. So yeah, it doubled pre-business school. So 165K, yeah.
Okay. Nice. Now and then there was some kind of like bonus structure with that.
Yeah, there was a sign-on bonus. It was like 25 or 30K. I think it was 30K sign-on bonus. Okay. I used that bonus to pay off my car payment.
I figured you were gonna say you paid off some debt.
Yes, I did.
I can tell you don't like debt.
I don't. And that's like one of the rules if I'm gonna continue to be with my wife. We don't do no debt. Yeah, I did have debt. I had a ton of debt actually. I had about $200,000 of debt that I ended up paying off. So that included credit card debt, car payments, and student loans.
Dang. Okay.
177 was like student loans. It wasn't, but yeah.
Ooh-wee. Okay. So you used that, and then so that was around 2020.
2021 was when I graduated from business school.
Okay, and then I met you probably 23, 24?
End of 22.
End of 22.
December
wow.
22.
Okay.
December, November.
Okay, and then you got hired at another consulting firm, but
small
more
one, yeah.
Boutique one. What's the difference between like working at these large consulting firms versus like smaller ones? Is there any differences that you've noticed?
Yeah, quite a few. The small firms, they don't really have these processes in place yet, like performance reviews or like an actual mentorship.
Yeah.
Like nothing formal there. Whereas like a lot of these consulting firms have resources to provide you kind of like an official performance review or provide you with a mentor, or they have budget for like these different events that you can get to go to, and then also the types of clients that you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. At Bain, they're typically larger clients, typically companies with revenues over in the billions. Whereas when I was at the smaller firm, our clients maybe had revenues in the hundreds of millions, a lot of times in the tens of millions.
Okay.
So smaller companies as well.
Yeah. What inspired you to go from working at Bain, large company working with large clients, you kind of have a clear trajectory and way things are working out there, to then making the switch over to a boutique consulting firm?
Yeah, there's two big reasons. One, I was getting kind of burned out at the larger, like working for Bain. So there's also just high turnover because a lot of people get burned out.
60-hour nights and stuff. It's
really
work
intense.
Days, work weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's pretty accurate actually. And then two, I wanted to work for a smaller company in general because I knew I wanted to do something in entrepreneurship. And a lot of times when you work for smaller, I had worked for big companies my entire career up to that point. But a lot of times if you can go work for a smaller company, you'll get these added responsibilities where you can kind of get exposure to more. So I was working directly with the CEO at this small boutique company, helping set like strategic objectives, helping out with the marketing funnel, the sales funnel, like things like that I didn't really get exposure to just working at any of these big companies.
You knowing that you wanted to be an entrepreneur seems like that's a running theme in this. What gave you that interest and like made you so definitive, like this is what I want to do and everything that I'm doing is working up to being a successful entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think one, I don't really love working for other people.
Okay.
Just to be frank. Yeah. It's not, I think that I also have a brain that likes us to work on different problems. And a lot of times when you work, especially at a big company, you're hired to do one specific job. And I have interests that are very kind of vast and eclectic, right? Like I taught myself finance in my 20s. I taught myself how to like read financial statements, and I really enjoyed that. And I still listen to investing news almost every day. Taught myself how to code and work, build product. I am very analytical as well. So being an entrepreneur, I get to work on a bunch of different types of projects. And then also, I feel like I can be creative at times. And so being able to use my creativity and turn that into something actually valuable is pretty fun for me.
Okay, I like that. No, I agree wholeheartedly that, especially the larger the company is, that you are going to be kind of pigeonholed or siloed in one particular task. And I think it's a great career trajectory that you've been on
Yeah.
to kind of gather these different tools, skill sets along the way, whether it's finance and investing, whether it's coding, et cetera, and it served you well in your latest endeavors. So that's exciting. We're kind of coming to the close here, but what's next? What's the next steps for you, for TailoredU? What can people expect in the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, so I think over the next 6 to 12 months, we have goals in terms of growth, and then goals in terms of like the product maturing. So on the growth side, we're hoping within 12 months to be a $1 million recurring revenue business. So we're really trying to grow quickly, and that's something that we're putting a lot of effort into, acquiring more customers and collecting customer feedback, and then also using those insights to drive the features that we prioritize in the product. But right now, what we are really focused on is getting more courses and projects out there. So we have a library. If you go to TailoredU.com, you can see which courses are coming soon. In the next 6 months, we definitely want that to be completed. So we have about 40 courses that we've announced, and so we want to have all of those completed in the next 6 months. We also want to have our own AI course creator tools complete. Me and my co-founder will be using them, but we're also hoping to start onboarding some people who are interested in creating their own courses. And so we'll be testing that out in the next 6 to 12 months as well. And then we are planning to do a small fundraise of around $250K, hopefully by the end of this calendar year. And lastly, we're hoping to have our first full-time hire within 12 months.
Okay, it's exciting. A lot of stuff going on. Let me ask you maybe one or two quick follow-ups on that. Who is the primary person that's coming to you guys? Is it the college student that's getting ready to graduate and they're like, okay, maybe there's certain things I need to know? Is it the person that's already working a job and they're trying to pivot careers? Who does that individual look like for you?
Yeah, no, I think you kind of nailed out like our two primary customer profiles. So one would be someone in college, doesn't have an experience, and is trying to like gain some kind of simulated type of experience on our platform, or just graduated and hasn't been able to land a job. So that's kind of like the college person. That's one of our customers. The other one is the career pivoter, and that's where we really see ourselves. That's like what we're really excited about solving. Like a lot of what we talked about today was my career pivots, right? And it was really hard for me. It was really challenging for me to do it. It took a lot of effort and took a lot of work. And I think a lot of people want to make a career pivot. It was a published study. I believe it was edX published a study that college graduates between the ages of like 22 and 45, I think about a third of them have mentioned that they've completely pivoted from their first job out of college. And so ultimately that is a problem that we're trying to solve for, is to help people pivot into these roles that they really want to be working in, so they can truly achieve what they believe is their purpose. We want to help people fulfill their purpose. And then lastly, like I'm entrepreneurial, and so people who just want to learn skills so they can do stuff as well. Like whether you can do that for yourself or do that for the job, we don't think that there's a big difference there, right? So ultimately, we want to make sure that our platform is really delivering the results that our users want, which is they want to actually gain skills that they can use, right? And so that's the ideal customer profile for us. Someone who really wants to like not just learn a skill, but like learn a trade or learn something that they can apply to bring value to the world.
I love solving problems for that early career, whether they're career pivoters or they're recent or future graduates from college. I think that's important to solve problems for them. Very empathetic to that demographic as well. Last question for you. How are most people finding you right now?
I think a lot of people are finding us via Reddit or LinkedIn.
Okay.
That's vast majority is we've kind of onboarded users via Reddit. And then some people are also just finding us, I think, organically, either through word of mouth or Google search. And so we haven't run any ads. So we have not spent any money. We've done no paid marketing. Everything has been like either posts through my Reddit account or through our LinkedIn account. We also do have an Instagram account that people could follow us on. So that's actually a problem that I specifically am trying to solve as a CEO, is helping people find us.
Gotcha. No, you'll figure it out. And let me know however I can help out. I love what you're doing. I believe in it as well. And I do believe it's needed. So I look forward to following your journey and seeing your successes and that exit that's down the line as well, and seeing what that looks like as well. So no, I think you got a good product. I'm rooting for you guys. So keep it up.
Thank you. We're rooting for you as well.
Appreciate it, man. You guys, I appreciate y'all staying tuned to this entire interview. I know you gained a lot of value from this. Make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to the Custom Journeys Media YouTube channel. Make sure you check us out on Spotify as well. And more than anything, make sure you share this with somebody who you believe it could help. There's somebody out there, either A, that could use TailoredU to kind of gain new skills, or B, there's somebody that could benefit from hearing Hiram's story and Hiram's journey. And make sure you come back soon. We're doing a lot more content, weekly live streams on Wednesdays now. You know, I'm trying to get back to being a lot more consistent in addition to the long form traditional podcast interview releases. So make sure you tune into that as well. But that's it for this episode of the Custom Journeys podcast. We appreciate y'all, and we'll see you all soon. Peace.